Likutei Torah. Likutei Torah, Parshas Nasso, page Chavav, bottom of the first column. Okay, the pasuk in Birchas Kohanim says, "Kei sevarachos b'nei Yisrael mar lahem yivrach Hashem yishmerecha," and all these things. Hine Amar Razal, the Gemara says, "Amar malachei shas b'nei Hakadosh Baruch Hu." It says that the Malachim said to Hashem. It says the Malachim said to Hashem, "You don't keep your Torah," because it says Asher li yisa upon him. It says that Hashem doesn't have favoritism. Asher li yisa upon him. Hashem doesn't have favoritism. Yet, yet you have favoritism to the Jews, because it says in Birchas Kohanim, Yis Hashem panu elecha, that Hashem does find the favor to you. So the Gemara, the Malachim came to Hashem and said, you don't keep what it says in your own book. It says Hashem doesn't have favoritism, and Yis Hashem panu elecha, Hashem does have favoritism. So Amar lahem, so Hashem said to the Malachim, should I not have favoritism for them? Because in Torah it says, it says in Torah, you'll eat, you'll be full, and then you'll bench. So you only have to make a bracha if you're full. And the Yidden, even if they eat a kazayis, make a bench. So he says, I shouldn't favoritize them, whatever the word is. So he says, that's what the Gemara says in Brachos. So he said, you understand this, I mean, it's not a very big thing. You could think they did unbelievable things, Hashem should have favoritism. All they do is they bench on the kazayis, what's the big deal? Also to understand the sequence of Birchas Kohanim.
It is a big deal because most of us went hungry year round. Almost every day we were going hungry. We never really had.
I understand, but what's the big deal if you eat a kazayis to make benching? I'm saying that there's no order. There's no order in the brachas. Because Yivrecha and Yisa and Yoy, I mean like Yoy and Yisa, what's the connection? But in order to understand it, what causes the Nasias Kapayim, what's it called? In the Nasias Panim, what causes Hashem has favoritism to the Jews? The fact that they bench. So we need to understand benching, and also why minatayra? You only have to bench if you're full. If somebody gives you something, you say thank you. You're supposed to say thank you, even though people don't. But you're supposed to say thank you. So what's the big, why is Hashem said, if you're full, then you say thank you. And if you're not full, they don't say, you shouldn't say thank you. The Inyan is like this. It says in the Pasuk, the Pasuk says, V'yachalta v'savata, u'beirachta es Hashem alakecha. Now the word es is extra. In Hebrew it could say, Beirachta Hashem alakecha. It's the same thing. The word es is extra. What is es? So what does it mean? Es means the es is shemei aleph atov. Okay, es refers to aleph to tov. Okay, what does that mean? The Gemara says an interesting thing. So Rabbi Shmuel would learn every es in the Torah to learn something from it. Starting from the first pasuk of Chumash, grammatically the Torah could have said, Bereshis bara Elokim hashamayim va'aretz. Why does it say es hashamayim v'aretz? It goes, kabed es avicha v'asimacha, it could have said kabed avicha v'imacha. He learned all the essen until he came to es Hashem alakecha tira. He said, no, I'm stuck already. Es Hashem alakecha tira, it's only Hashem. So Rabbi Kiva said, no, l'rabis tamidei chachamim. Es also includes something. But anyway, here he says, what's the union of v'achalta v'savato beirachta es Hashem alakecha? Es is extra. So he said, es is aleph to tov. What does that mean? Everything in the world was created with the 10 utterances. excuse me, the letters of the Asar Maimoris are the Chayis Kol Advarim. Like we said in the Shir Tanya yesterday of Shari Chavamuna, that the letters are the life force of everything in the world. That's why it says Hashem, forever your words are standing in the heaven. The words that Hashem created the world with, that is the lifeline that is constantly in the world. And their creation and existence and their life from nothing to something is through the combinations of letters. The Rabbi says in Shaykh Amuna, how? I just said that. It says that the lifeline is so l'chayra, for instance, that the word kisei is in Torah, it's called Chav Samach Aleph, is a lifeline of even though it doesn't say in Asar Maimoris he kisei, or Shulchan, or whatever it says. I mean, the general things the Torah says, Vakiya, Shemesh, Yereach, but where does that come from? So it says, through the combinations of the letters, numerical values of the letters, the exchanging of letters, the pearl, every single creation could be found through the various different methods of reducing letters. You have everything, but that is a lifeline. In other words, kisei is a Torah word. That means the life force that's in a chair, keeping a chair existing, from yesh miyayin, is the letters Chav Samach Aleph. And everything like that. V'gam nefesh ha'adam milei ha'osis. The same thing is an expression in Chazal, nefesh milei ha'osis, ki ata nefachta b'iksiv. Hashem blew is an neshama into us. And it says, v'yipach b'yapav nishmas chayim. Meaning, v'ruach piv yizbarach kol tzvam. V'ruach piv, what is the spirit of Hashem's mouth? Ha'mahav esakol. I create everything, I de bechinas Asius through letters, and that's the Asius of Asar Maimoris. So what it says, Uberachta es Hashem Elokecha, the Rebbe is explaining, S is the level of all the letters from Aleph to Tov that creates everything in the world. It says in the Pasuk, Vayikra Adam Shemesh, L'chol Abeim Aleif HaShemayim, Adam Rishon, called names. But it doesn't say he gave names. It said he called names. For all the creations, what does that mean? For all the behemoths in Chayis, right? Shukada vehim shech shmeisehem. Now, calling is, there's a difference between giving a name or calling a name. Calling, again, the concept, you call somebody, they come to you. That means when it says, Vayikra Adam Shemesh, Adam Rishon called, meaning he brought down the names of all the animals. Like we learned many times, the famous Medrash that says that after Hashem created Adam Rishon, the Malachim said, who is this new guy that you created? So Hashem said, Chachmasei gedele mi chachmaschem. His wisdom is greater than yours. They said, prove it, So Hashem brought all the animals in front of the Malachim, and he said, give him names. And they couldn't do it. He brought all the animals in front of Adam Rishon. So Adam Rishon said, Lazad nor likre sus. Lazad nikra yafa likre chamor. So Adam Rishon gave the name to every animal in the world. So the question is, what's the big deal giving? The Malachim couldn't do it. Adam Rishon was able to do it. And therefore Hashem proved to the Malachim that Adam Rishon is smarter than them. What's the big deal giving names? Everybody gives names. The answer is, they couldn't give the name because what Hashem wanted is the name is the lifeline of the object. So in other words, in order to give a name to Sus, Samach Vav Sus, you had to see what is the spiritual lifeline of a horse, and then bring down that name to call it Sus. And the Malachim couldn't do that.
Just spiritual, no physical.
What?
Just spiritual aspect, no physical aspect of the animal.
The name is the physical, the spiritual lifeline of the physical animal.
You named the fish too?
Yeah.
No.
So what does it mean? He called the name. Korivim Shem Tzrufi Eitz Shebasar Maimoris Shebahem Nivru Me'elim El Gilu, that they were created from the concealed to the revealed. Lias Bahem Gilu Achayis Meruach Pevis Barich La'aleis and Okashim B'Mekayda. What is the name of the what is the purpose of naming? When you have the name that connects the object to its source. That's why, God forbid, when somebody faints, you call their name, because that's supposed to revive them, because now you're bringing down the chayas that left them, because they fainted, to bring it back down to earth. Because the elevation and connection to the source is Ayidei HaAdam. Through Adam, that Adam Rishon is the greatest of all four levels. And Adam Rishon, by calling, that's why it says, Vayikro lahem shemeris. Vayikro means he brought down the level of the chayis from the source. L'chein al kol meitzah pi Hashem yichya Adam. Shemeitza pi Hashem shebemaychel. The power of Hashem that's in the food, meaning Ha'eis is the letters that Hashem yatsa mi pi Hashem miruach piv yisbarich. In other words, like the word lechem, the lamed ches mem is the lifeline of the chayis in the bread, keeping it existing from nothing into something. Skip the parentheses. Because through the person and through through in him and through him, it's both in him and through him, they'll be able to go back, like we learned in all the Maimorim. A person eats food, right? The food is from Tehu, but it fell all the way down. So when a person eats the food, makes a bracha or whatever, he elevates the food back to its original source. So who elevates the world of Tehu that fell down here into the Gashmistical world and now bringing it back to the source? That's the person by dealing with that food. Because it says really something, everything could have been created in Pirkei Avos, right? Hashem could have created with one utterance. Because that Bereshis, which is the opening of the Sar Maimoros, that includes within it all other 9. That's why the Medrash says, on the first day of creation, Hashem created everything. Bereshit bara Elokim es hashamayim. Es means everything in the heavens. Es haaretz means everything in the earth. So everything was created on the first day with the Maimer HaKoilo, but it was all in Koyach. When did he actually put the vegetation? Was on the third day. This was on the sun and the moon on the 4th day. So Hashem finalized it in the details. So the person, by making a bracha, elevates the food back to the source. Because a person brings down that gilui, beirachta means to bring down, barich, right, bracha, which means to bring down the source of letters, which is ruach pevis barich, in order yisalu v'yiskashu b'mkedem. So I'll try to explain it like this. What is the concept of benching? The concept of benching is to bring down the letters, to elevate everything in the world back to its original source. To elevate it back to its original source. And that's what a person does. Ubeirachta, they bring down the S, the letters from Aleph to top, all the big Alakecha, to go back to Elokus, to go back to its source. That's the concept of benching. Where do we get the koyach to bring this down? This koyach really is a person fighting with his nefesh abamis. The Nefesh Habama is just interested not in benching, not in bracha, just eating. Hine lechem u'meloshin oz lachem sa'irim. Lechem, by the way, is the root of the word milchama. Milchama, the root is lechem. He calls the pasuk oz lechem sa'irim shepirush lashim milchama, which again is the root of the word milchama. And like it says, the desire, Naam al pum charba yechel. Bread, it says Naam is Aramaic for bread. The Mazari says the expression, Naam al pum charva, the food, and the mouth of a sword, yechel. In other words, the fight is a battle to be able to elevate that food. Behind what are we talking about? What is the milchama at tefillah? Like it says in the Zohar, Shas Tzlaisa Shtas Kirva. The time of davening is a time of battle. Meaning like this. There's different ways of dealing with an opponent. You can have an Asati Shalom Baretz. You can have peaceful ways. Then you can have a battle. So basically you have Torah and Tefillah. Torah is also connecting to Hashem, but that is not Milmata Lamaila, like Tefillah is, we'll explain, but Torah is Momayla Lamata. Momayla Lamata means there's Hashem's wisdom, and we learn Torah, we bring down Elokus into us. We're not refining the Nefesh Habamis through learning. On the contrary, learning usually causes ego. Usually, without avoid of Nasso and Torah, without Tefillah before davening, just the fact that somebody thinks they know how to learn is an ego trip. Davening, on the other hand, is fighting with the Nefesh Habamis. Tefillah means, number one, to connect. Tefillah means, lefalel means to judge. The whole concept of Tefillah is momata l'mayla. Therefore, you have the sulam, malachim eilim v'yardim, right? First you go up. So you have first before Baruch Shama, then you have Baruch Shama Yishtabach, then you have Berachas Krishma, then you have the Shemon Esrei, and then you have Tachlan, then you start coming down, Olim v'Yordim. So davening is actually fighting hands-on with the Nefesh Habamis. This is what Yaakov Avinu said in Parshas Vayechi when he was benching Yosef. He said, Shelokachti miyado emeri, I'm giving you Shechem, that I took from the Emeri, from the nation of Emeri, B'charbi B'kashti, with my sword and my bow and arrow. So Chassidus explains, Emeri is the letters Ramai. Ramai. The Ramai represents the Nefesh Habamis, the liar, the swindler, the cheater, What did Yaakov Avinu say? Asher lakachti miyado Emeri. How did I conquer the Nefesh Habamis? B'charbi b'kashti, with my sword and my bow and arrow. Now, bow and arrow, you fight long distance. You can't fight with a sword long distance. You stand there, I stand here, we're going to fight with a sword. With a bow and arrow, you can have long distance. Or we explain many times the lesson from a football game. You have a running game and a passing game. That's charbi, b'kashti. But anyway, charbi means it's direct fighting with the Nefesh Habamis.
Within.
Huh?
Maybe within.
Within what?
When it's so close, maybe you fight within yourself.
Yeah, we're talking about Nefesh Habamis, our own Nefesh Habamis. Torah is likened from the distance. It comes down from up there, you're not fighting. So he says, davening is a level of charbi. That's the personal direct fight with the Nefesh Habamis. It says they will exalt Hashem with their throats. The same pasuk we say Krishma Lamita. The Jews will praise Hashem, exalt Hashem with their throats, which is davening. And the same pasuk said, "V'cherev pipi" is a double-edged sword. B'yadam they'll have in their hand, which means davening. Is a level of the cherev. Therefore, first it says you have to love Hashem, love Him, And then it says here, Safta Diganecha. Gathering the grain, it represents, like you said, that's creating food. You'll eat bread based, Nama Pumchar Balechol, you're going to eat bread with a sword. But Safta Diganecha, you're going to gather all the sparks, all the food. First you have to love Hashem, and then you can come to fight.
How does Cherev manifest itself?
Cherev is when you direct fighting. You get dirty when you fight with a sword. When you fight with a sword, you have to be close to the person.
What Cherev, how Cherev is manifested?
Cherev means a sword.
I know, but
No.
what's a symbol of what? What Cherev is a symbol of
The
what?
battle with the Nefesh Habamis. Tefillah. Chabi is Tefillah. Kashli is Torah. Why? Because first you need the level of the Ahavas Hashem. What's Ahava? Ahava comes from the word Ava. Again, Ahava, which is love, is the same basically letters as Ava. And as the pasuk says, "V'lo Ava Hashem hashchisecha." Ava in Hebrew means wanting. Loving, when you love somebody, you want them. If you love somebody, you really love somebody, you want them. Hainu arotzen. Hainu, vakavani is she'erotzen adam, the will of the person. The chavtziv bakashasi is desire and his request. B'chol leiv and nefesh, with all his heart. What is? In other words, it says like this: when the pasuk says li'avas Hashem Elokecha, simply means to love Hashem. But what it means is the person's will is only for God. His whole will and desire is only for Hashem, for nothing else. That what is the person's will? That he should be Hashem Elokecha, that the supernatural is the natural. Just like before creation, that ha Yahu levadei, just like before Hashem created the world, only Elokus was permeating the world, because there was no olam from the word ha'elam, there's no concealment of godliness. That's going to be in the 7,000th year era Mashiach. So the reality is Ato Kedem Sheniv Olam, Ato Mesheniv Olam, right? The world, the Elokus is the same. So he says, the reality is Kamato Kame, the Kula Kame Kloi Choshani Hashem Leshenisi. The world is concealing godliness. So what is a person's real will? What should be the person's real desire and will? Not to get a good steak or not to get good cheesecake, whatever, 6-hour break, but to have pashit, godliness revealed in the world. That's what they want. What is avayel? You should want Hashem Elokecha. It doesn't mean God, you're God, because then it could have said v'ahavtas Hashem. What's Hashem Elokecha? What do you both? Shavaya, which what the person wants is like this: that the level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is Haya Hayve V'Yan Leishanisi, above time and place. Vein Eid Mamish Mulvadei. Right, Avaya represents the supernatural. That level should be Elokecha, our nature. That means that what a Jew really wants, what we're supposed to really want, is that godliness should be my nature. That means all I want, nothing but godliness. That's what V'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha means. U'be'elim shlei ha'olam mailim, that the world should not conceal godliness. Just like from Hashem's perspective, the only thing that exists is Elokus. Has upon him, without any concealment. Okay, they wanted this which should be godliness, And normally, that normally a person is drawn after Gashmis and Chumrius, the coarseness, that appears to be Yash V'daber F'nei Atzmei. What does he want instead? La'avdei b'chol levavchem b'beis levaves with the nefesh elokis, nefesh abamis. This is the real will of a person. And everything we do blocks that level of what we're supposed to want, and what we're supposed to accomplish. So the Rabbi says, this is, how does a person come to this level, beirachta es Hashem elokecha, to bring down elokus in every physical thing that exists in the world, that has to come through v'ahavtas Hashem elokecha. Now the Rabbi explained, what does the ahavtas Hashem elokecha mean? A person's desire, and only desire, should be, havaya should be elokecha. That the nature of the person, the nature of the world, should be openly seeing havaya, yudke vavke. That the whole world is bottled to elokus. There's no me, there's no you, there's nothing. There's only elokus. Therefore, that's the level of tefillah, which is the cherev, the battle, fighting the nefesh habamis, that the nefesh habamis should agree to should understand, to agree that einoid mulvadi, not einoid mulvadi, einoid mulvadei. L'chein tefillah yisulam mutzav arza, v'reish magia shemayim. Therefore, what's the level of tefillah? Sulam mutzav arza. There's a mime the previous Rabbi explains. In Hebrew you have Eretz. In Arza is even lower than Eretz. Shemayim is heaven. Hashemayim is even higher than Shemayim. So he says, what's the inyan of Tefillah? That we learn Sulam Mutzav Arza. V'reishe Magia Shemayim. The Frierdiker Rebbe says, it's not the Sulam not only standing on the earth, on the ground. It's standing below the ground. That means the lowest of the lowest. And where is the Sulam connecting to? Ha-Shemaima, the higher than Shemayim. So what's the inyan of Tefillah, which means binding and connection? To bind the lowest part of the Jew, the lowest part of the world, with the highest level of Elokus.